What's up, Ravens fans? I missed you guys. I've been gone for the last 2 weeks on vacation, but we got a ton of stuff to catch up on. We're going to be talking some AFC North news. We got Jamar Chase ranking his top corners, putting 3 Steelers in his top list, but no Ravens. We got some Isaiah Likely contract offer rumors that we're going to discuss. We'll talk about some extensions that are right around the corner. Justin Simmons is waiting for a contender. We'll talk about him and another free agent that I think could potentially fit the Ravens. We got some news on the NFL collusion case that was settled privately that involves Lamar Jackson. We hear from Mark Andrews. All that and more in today's episode of the Flock Rundown.
Ravens Flock. The Flock Rundown is the place to be.
Motionless brainwaves attempt to swim their way to sense, can't tame the untamed.
What's up, Ravens fans? My name is Ryan, and welcome back to another episode of the Flock Rundown. I miss you guys. It's been a few weeks. I've been up in the mountains in Montana, having a little reset, visiting my girlfriend's family. It's the slowest part of the entire year, and I've been making videos almost daily for the last year, so figured I'd take a couple week reset before we get into the next year grind, but we're back. Training camp's right around the corner. I put a couple little shorts out and TikToks and stuff, but haven't been able to drop a full-length YouTube video like this, so I'm excited to be back. Also had the incredible honor of doing the intro music to Engraven's channel. So if you haven't heard that, go check that out. But let's dive into all the updates from today. I'm probably going to cover some stuff that you guys may have heard a little bit about over the last few weeks, but I'm kind of catching up myself. So I just want to cover a variety of things, some new, some's like a week or two old news, but we're going to get into all of it since I haven't talked about any of it. We're going to start with the AFC North news, specifically the Steelers. They obviously made that big trade, getting Jalen Ramsey and shipping out Minkah Fitzpatrick, which I think kind of equals that trade out a little bit. I mean, Jalen Ramsey's a big addition for them, older player though, and then they lose their Pro Bowl safety. They also got Jonnu Smith in that trade. I think they probably got a little bit better. It is interesting that they got Jalen Ramsey and Darius Slay at corner. I think and Joey Porter still. So I think that they definitely upgraded their cornerback room, but lost some safety play by losing Minkah. That's not a small loss. But this does make the Steelers defense a little bit stronger. Not that they had a bad defense anyway. They're going to have a great defense this year. I don't know what their offense is going to look like. We'll see how Aaron Rodgers plays out. I don't really love their weapons either. I mean, Jonnu Smith's a good get. They got DK Metcalf, obviously, but they shipped Pickens out. And who knows what you're getting with Aaron Rodgers at this age. You know, he didn't have an incredible year last year. So I'm not super high on the Steelers offense, but very interesting moves that the Steelers are making. I feel like they are truly all in. We've talked about the Ravens kind of being all in, but they're not as all in as the Steelers from an age perspective. You know, I feel like the Steelers are kind of, in win this year mode only. You know, it's not going to last forever. The Ravens they're all in, but it's going to, the window stretches a little bit. So it's kind of different scenarios. I still think the Ravens are in a much better position, but definitely interesting what the Steelers are doing. And then I was browsing the X feed trying to catch up on a bunch of news, and I saw Jamar Chase ranking his top corners. He mainly talked about the AFC corners since that's what he goes up against consistently. And 3 Steelers made the list.
Jamar Chase, top 5 corners in the league.
I got to put Denzel on there. I don't really play, too many on the other side. Besides the AFC. Joey Porter, pretty smooth. He just long. I ain't played too many people, and I don't want, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's going to be fun going against Ramsey and Darius Slay. I had an opportunity to go against them this last year, and, you know what I'm saying, him my rookie year. That's 4. I'm going to go with 4.
I was shocked that he put Joey Porter Jr. on there. I don't understand. He made a top 4 corner list, and he's got Joey Porter Jr. and Jalen Ramsey and Darius Slay. And 0 Ravens, no respect to Marlon Humphrey and no respect to Nate Wiggins. I know Nate Wiggins is young, but he was kind of locking Chase up in that Bengals game whenever he was on him. I know Chase went absolutely nuts in that game, but that wasn't on Wiggins. Wiggins was defending him very, very well. I think Nate Wiggins takes a huge leap this year too, man. So a little bit of disrespect, I think, by putting Joey Porter Jr. ahead of guys like Marlon Humphrey and Nate Wiggins and Jair Alexander. I think he probably left Jair off just because he doesn't usually go against him, but why'd he put Darius Slay on there then? You know, that's interesting to me. So not a huge deal by any means, but I think it's a little disrespectful. You know, I know the Bengals don't love the Ravens and Ravens don't love the Bengals, and we've been kind of going at it a little bit, even though the Ravens have been winning lately. I think it's a little disrespectful. The Ravens have an absolutely stacked secondary right now, and Jamar Chase doesn't mention any of them, but he mentions 3 Steelers. So I don't know. Can't wait to face off against them. I am going to the Thanksgiving night game, by the way. I don't know if I'll hit another game or not yet, but I'm officially going to the Ravens-Bengals Thanksgiving night game. So can't wait to see Nate Wiggins and or Jair Alexander and or Marlon Humphrey give Jamar Chase a little taste of his medicine and hopefully have a much better day than they had last year against Jamar Chase, who went absolutely ballistic. But I think our safety plays a lot better. We don't have Eddie Jackson or Marcus Williams out there missing their assignment, or Brandon Stevens. I think the Ravens don't have many holes in their secondary anymore, so I'm looking forward to that matchup again. Moving on to some extension news, there's a report floating out there from Slick Rick Scoops. I don't know the quality of this report, but says that the Ravens have made an extension offer to Isaiah Likely at $13 million per year. It's actually a little under Mark Andrews. I think Mark Andrews is averaging $14 million per year, but this would put Isaiah Likely as like the 6th highest paid tight end. But I'm questioning the validity of this. I don't know who that guy is that reported that. It is getting some buzz online. I saw other Ravens channels reposting it and kind of acting like it's real, but I just don't think the Ravens let their contract offers leak. You know, they're very, very private, and unless there's some kind of negotiation play here where they, you know, the agent wants to leak something or whatever just to put the number out there for some kind of negotiation tactic, that would be the only way that things would leak. But I'm pretty sure that that's probably not what happened. I'm not sure if the Ravens have extended an offer or not. The number doesn't seem insanely off. I don't think that Isaiah Likely is going to be the highest paid tight end in the league, so he's not going to be getting 19 or 20 million a year, and he's also not going to be getting under 10. So I don't know exactly where his number is going to fall. I think that's still up for debate, but I just don't think that the Ravens would let a contract offer leak and then just be floating out there. You know, those seem like private conversations, and usually the Ravens all of a sudden are just like, hey, we agreed to an extension with Isaiah Likely. And usually you just don't hear much about the negotiation or the specific numbers until the deal's done. So I'm definitely questioning this report, but could be wrong. Never know. I still think Isaiah Likely gets extended, hopefully this year. I don't want him to, you know, test free agency next year. I don't even want this to drag into next offseason. I think Isaiah Likely is worthy of an extension right now, a guy that you want to keep around. And by extending guys sooner, you save money because the cap's constantly going up. The numbers are constantly going up. You never know what kind of year Isaiah Likely is going to have. If he has his best year yet, the numbers go up, you know, with an increased salary cap. No matter what, you're basically saving money by doing it early. So let's get guys like Isaiah Likely, Tyler Linderbaum, Travis Jones, Lamar Jackson. You know, let's get all these guys extended right now. I think that is the smartest move. I know that Eric DeCosta's been on a little vacation himself. I've been seeing some pictures and stuff online. So I'm sure they'll be getting back to it, you know, a week before training camp. They'll probably get back to the extension talks and things like that. But there's definitely some guys that are going to be extended. Kyle Hamilton's another one, but I think he's the least pressing out of all those just because we did pick up his 5th-year option. So he's under contract next year no matter what. These other guys aren't besides Lamar, but Lamar's cap hit's huge, so we have to extend him. But Isaiah Likely, Travis Jones, Tyler Linderbaum, even Adafe Owe, and these guys, they're all free agents next year. So it is important to get as many extensions as you can done right now so that they're not even testing free agency. I know we're going to lose some guys. You know, we could lose an Owe. You know, the team definitely is going to look a little bit different next year. We have a lot of guys in contract years. Mark Andrews is another guy who's a free agent next year. I don't think they're going to re-sign Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews to big contracts. So definitely a lot of decisions to make, but I think it's also a good thing that there's a lot of guys in a contract year. It's a little scary for next year. You know, I definitely think the team could take a little bit of a hit, but having all of these guys impact players on contract years this year, usually guys ball out on contract years. So I'm expecting them to be playing their best football of their lives, to make sure that they get that next contract, whether it be here in Baltimore or somewhere else. So therefore, you're going to get their best play this year, and that helps the team, obviously, and hopefully, they can all win a Super Bowl, and then we won't feel as bad about losing a couple guys next year. We'll see how it plays out. Mark Andrews has been in Baltimore, and he spoke to some guys. I saw Jeff Zrebiec tweet out, "With a smile, Andrews said, I've had to eat a lot of crap, but I'm not done yet. I've got a lot left to do for the Baltimore Ravens." Obviously, the fan base has been pretty heated at Mark Andrews since that playoff game, and, the narrative of him not performing in the playoffs is a valid one, but also Mark Andrews is balled out even last year in the regular season. I mean, 11 touchdowns is no joke, Mark Andrews is still going to be a huge piece of this team, especially him being in a contract year too. I really think you're getting the best Mark Andrews. You're going to get a very motivated Mark Andrews. Not that he's ever unmotivated, but with the car accident and coming off the injuries and stuff, Mark Andrews kind of had a little bit of a slow start and then started getting back to Mark Andrews. Obviously had a terrible playoff game in Buffalo, but I really think that Mark Andrews is still going to be a huge piece for the Baltimore Ravens. There were so many rumors of us potentially trading him this offseason, and if we would have got a good enough offer, a second-round pick or something, I think the Ravens might have traded him, but it's also not a bad thing to keep this stacked of a tight end room. For one, you never know what's going to happen with the health of the roster. We've seen position groups get depleted very fast before, so you never know. It's always good to have a deep team, and for another, Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely are star tight ends. These are both top 10 tight ends in the NFL. So why wouldn't you want to have two guys out there like that or be able to rotate two high-quality players like that? It's only going to help this offense, and this offense is stacked, man. This whole team is stacked. This roster is so good. The Ravens really don't need anything else. There are a few free agents still floating out there. I saw Justin Simmons says that he's taking his time and wants to play for a contender. So that could be an option to add depth, but I really don't want Justin Simmons to be replacing or taking a lot of time away from Malachi Starks either. It doesn't hurt to have some veteran depth, but if Justin Simmons wants to be a premier player on a contender, I don't know if Baltimore is the best fit right now. I think that he would have to take a little bit of a back seat. I don't want Malachi Starks barely playing because we're playing Justin Simmons a lot, but I'm also not against adding a Justin Simmons if he does want to take a little bit of a reduced role and kind of be that third safety. I definitely think it would hurt Sanusi Kane and Bo Braid, but a proven guy like Justin Simmons would just add to the depth and quality of this roster. But I'm also not mad at all if we just roll with Malachi Starks and give Bo Braid, Sanusi Kane a chance to compete for that third safety spot. I think Sanusi Kane's in the lead, at least according to Harbaugh and just the flashes from minicamp and stuff so far. I think Sanusi Kane probably has a stranglehold on that third safety spot, but we'll see We'll see what happens through training camp. We'll see what happens through the preseason, or if we add a veteran like Justin Simmons. I think I'd be more interested in adding a veteran at guard, and that be Brandon Scherf, who's surprisingly still out there. He had one of the lowest pressure rates in the last 2 seasons. Creed Humphrey had the lowest pressure rate in the last 2 seasons, and this is among offensive linemen with 1,000+ pass block snaps. But Brandon Scherf is second on that list in the entire NFL at 2.5%. So he's one of the best guards in the league. He's a veteran presence, and it's not any disrespect to Voorhees or Fa'alele. If they win the job, that's amazing. I'm just saying a veteran like Brandon Scherf is still sitting out there. We've had a little bit of shaky guard play in the last year or so. That would be my favorite addition to add in free agency. I think Justin Simmons is probably second, and then maybe Jadeveon Clowney would be like third on my list. Those are kind of my top 3 guys that are still out there in free agency that I'd be like, all right, that'd be cool to just bring on over. We have such a stacked team, but I think all 3 of those guys do make sense in some capacity, but I'm also cool if the Ravens do nothing. To be honest with you, after that Jair Alexander signing and the other additions that the Ravens have made this offseason, we have a good enough team to play right now and to compete for a Super Bowl right now. We know that. The roster's good enough, but never hurts to always keep looking and, bringing in guys if you could strengthen any position on the team. go do it. And I think those three guys do make some sense. Some other news that I saw about a week ago, the NFL and the NFLPA quietly agreed to a confidentiality deal that hid the outcome of the collusion grievance, which found that the league urged owners to limit guaranteed money after the Deshaun Watson deal. Players weren't told, and it's sparking major backlash inside the union. We pretty much all knew when they were going through the Lamar Jackson negotiations that there was some collusion going on when the Ravens put the tender on Lamar Jackson and not a single team even called. You know, I know the Ravens were probably going to match any offer that came, and that's why a lot of teams said that they didn't call. But come on, man. Lamar Jackson was available. And everyone is like publicly coming out. The Falcons especially were like, we're not interested. There's some question marks. And everyone's kind of downplaying that Lamar Jackson isn't worth the guaranteed money, isn't worth the first round picks to go get. And really, come to find out, a lot of the owners were kind of teaming up to suppress the guaranteed money, which is still a battle to this day. Look at the second round pick situation that's going on with the second round draft picks right now. Right before I went on vacation, I made a video about this. It's titled Why Mike Green Still Hasn't Signed with the Ravens. And it's because there's a fight over guaranteed money. The Texans and Browns gave fully guaranteed contracts to their second round picks, which is unprecedented. And now the rest of the teams are saying, no, we don't want to do that. We don't want to give out fully guaranteed deals. So it's still a fight to this day. But I think it's interesting that they settled privately and decided to keep it quiet because there was true collusion going on. And now it's a fact. We kind of all saw it happening. And as fans, we could talk about it. But now it's undeniable. It came out that the owners did come together and are not trying to give out fully guaranteed contracts, and wanted to make that Deshaun Watson deal an anomaly. And that's not what should happen, essentially. And players are obviously pissed off. They're going to keep fighting for more guaranteed money. And I think this battle will continue. But it is interesting that it officially came out that there was collusion and that they settled privately and wanted to keep it quiet. But obviously the players are going to feel some type of way about that, as they should. But that's it for today, guys. Just wanted to kind of catch up on a lot of stuff that's going on. We've been seeing a lot of Ravens working out and things like that. There hasn't really been any real news, but there's definitely been a couple little news stories floating around. So I wanted to catch up on all that. And we're back to making daily videos, man. I'm not going anywhere. Training camp's in a little over a week. I will cover every single training camp practice, every preseason game, every regular season game. We're here for the rest of the season into next offseason, and no more breaks or vacations or anything. But I appreciate you guys sticking it out with me and rocking with me and supporting this channel. And can't wait for this season, man. I cannot wait. The Ravens have everything they need. Let's go get it done. Appreciate you guys, as always, for tuning in to another episode of the Flock Rundown. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and I'll let the greatest linebacker in the history of the game take us out.
Ravens Flock. The Flock Rundown is the place to be. My man Ryan has been a lifelong Ravens fan since he was born. The Flock Rundown. Nothing gets better than waking up and wondering how high we can fly. Tune in.
Motionless brainwaves attempt to swim their way to sense, can't tame the untamed.